Hey, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another Project 80 series video. Today's a good one because I think I'm attacking one of the last mandatory fixes that I needed to address. Oil leaks. So there's oil leaking from the front of the motor. Not a lot, but enough, right? So it's supposedly well known that it's either the main seal behind the harmonic balancer, it's the O-ring behind the plate that covers the oil pump, or it's the O-ring on the distributor shaft. So there's a kit that give me all three of those seals, and while you have the stuff off that you need to get to any one of those, you do all three. So that's what I'm doing today. Why it's kind of exciting is because after this, it's really time to start looking at like the fun mods, the modifications that I want to make, not just like maintenance issues that I had to address. All right, so from what I can see, I'm going to have to take the battery out, take the battery box out, this whole box here. So when I go to the distributor, I'll be able to pull it because this pulls straight out sideways and it's going to hit the battery box. So pull the battery box out. Now, I've seen videos where people have pulled the whole radiator out. I don't want to have to do that. So what I'm going to try and do is pull the fan out, pull the fan shroud out, and then that'll allow me to get down in here. Where I have to get to is all the way down in here. So right here, where I'm pointing, where that pulley is, you can see the two belt lines on it. That pulley is actually mounted to the plate of the oil pump. So that's one thing. And then down here, obviously the harmonic balancer that drives all the belts. That's the other thing I got to pull off. Now that thing's going to be a bear. So I got to pull all these belts off first. So that's loosening up the tension on the alternator here and loosening up the idler tensioner on the air conditioner. So this has a one belt and then two belts go over this way toward the alternator. 10 millimeter. Probably when this is out, I should maybe repaint this. Like to put the bolts back in where they came from so I know. So it looks like this battery box has got two straight down in the bottom, one at the front edge, and two in this side edge here. And they look like 12 millimeter. Trying this thing out for the first time. It's a little long with this extension. Try it like this. I think that's all the go. Battery box out. Clean that up while it's out. Ooh, it's dirty down in here. So hopefully you can see a good picture in here, but once I got the battery box out, over here you can see the grime built up and then the oil on these lines here because the oil is being thrown down here, getting on the belts and everything. But taking this out really gives you a ton of access if you need to do any work. You could see how quick I was able to take out the battery and the battery box, open this whole area up. The other side is really open already. You can put another battery box over there and have two batteries, but the way it sits right now, this, you've got really good access there, and taking this out gives you really good access to stuff here. So something to keep in mind in the future. And one thing I just wanted to mention I just zip tied these up out of the way so they're not flopping, but these things here, this is on the positive side. This is called the fusible link, and it bolts on, and what it does is it's designed like as a fuse. If it has an overload, it'll actually burn the wires in half to stop the short, and a lot of times those things fail and no one knows to go look for the problem right here. I looked these up. These are $18 to replace them. So I don't know how long this one's been on here. It's kind of gunky and chewy. And it's only about this long. It's got like 3 wires and then this plug in here. So it's not that big of a deal to change it. So the recommendation is to buy 2 of them, replace the one you have, throw this one away, and put the other one in your glove box as a spare. They're $18 and it's an OEM Toyota part. Kind of preventative maintenance. Don't know what condition this one's in, and to have a new one and have a spare on board, it's a good thing. But if you're having electrical problems, take a look there instead of just in your fuse box here. Little tip. 12 millimeter. Yes. Come on, baby. Might need to get my glove. It's just spinning. That one's loose. That one's loose. That one's loose. There we go. Got it. Got it, coach. Alright, so I haven't done this before. There's a lot, most of this stuff I'm doing I haven't done before, but hopefully it's like common sense steps. See, I don't know what holds this on, if this is just an idler to the water pump and there's a bolt behind it, or if when I take this off the belts are going to go flying. I don't know. I would think that there's a bolt behind it, that these hold on the fan. Now I'm going to leave these 2 nuts on top until I figure out what we do with the fan shroud. So there's a square nut on the back side of these things that looks like it could fall out of there if you were moving the radiator around. This one's got a crack in it, like somebody over tightened it. Lose any fluid out of this. I don't know what this is. It's some kind of, it loops from the aluminum part of this hose right back here at the motor up to the top of the radiator. Like maybe it's some kind of vent. This is a wide one. Oh, a little bit of pressure. I might get a little leakage here. For a second there, I thought I was going to get a lot of leakage. Alright, so this one I probably want to keep pointing up. Looks like there's a... is that a power steering? Possibly a power steering or oil cooler line that's attached with a little clip. I'm imagining there's no bolts on the bottom, that it just kind of clicks in. The hose on the top on this side is going to be an issue, maybe. Oh yeah, okay, so I was right. This belt, this pulley is held on by these same ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get set up in here and loosen the tension on the alternator, so I can loosen the tension on these two belts. So it looks like there's a nut and an adjustment screw and a nut on the top of the alternator. I've loosened the nut on the top of the alternator, I loosened the nut on the front, and now I'm loosening this adjustment screw. Had to put on some gloves. This stuff, it's really dirty down here. There's one. There's two. Okay, those two belts are off. Alright, so I'm up underneath now, and right here is the idler pulley and adjuster for the air conditioner, the AC unit. So the front is a 14. You got to break this loose. Break that loose, because this long bolt here, that front just puts pressure on this long adjusting bolt here. So if you try and do this bolt here first, it's going to bend and fight you, and it's not going to work. Oh, this stupid steering stabilizer in my way. Actually turn it by hand. There's just a block. There's just a block on the back of the bolt that goes through the pulley, and this long screw goes through it, and that's how you adjust it. Once you get the tension adjusted there, you lock it down with the bolt in front. And that should be all I need to get this off. The dripping you see is whatever bit of radiator fluid I had dropped out with that top hose. That needs to be replaced. Okay, let's see if I can get this fan out now, but I see a potential problem. The radiator hose on the top on this side, it's right up against it. It's not allowing me to, like this side, I can slide up to get it out of its lower clip. This side I can't, so I'm going to try and take the fan off, see if it gives me some more room to work here. I only left two more nuts on it here. Should be able to get the fan out from inside here. Gently. Okay. So he's got some oil buildup and stuff on the back side of this. Okay, all 3 belts are out. So I've tried every which way I can to get this out without breaking anything. Problem is, this upper radiator hose, at the bottom, it slides into a clip, and you have to pull it up and out of that to slide it out. There's no way to do that with this here. So videos I've seen, I don't know if they have a broken piece down there, or they just weren't, they were doing something different, but I'm going to try and pull this top radiator hose off without losing too much fluid here, hopefully. Dang, that is a strong clip here. That's one strong clamp. My bucket down there, is it catching it? Kind of. Hey, what do you know? It's exactly what I said. It's impossible to do that with that in the way. Whew. Okay, well, it was a little bit more of a mess than I wanted to make, but it is what it is. I gotta clean all this out anyway. All the residual grime and buildup from the oil leaking and grime over the years. Kind of messy down in here. Alright, so it's been about an hour or so. I had to back up the truck, push it back. I hit it with the purple stuff, and then I got my pressure washer, little Sun Joe, 2200 psi, and I cleaned the engine as much as I could. Put a big thick piece of cardboard off the box that came from the fuel tank. Now I'm going to get set up to try and take off the 30 millimeter bolt that's holding on the harmonic balancer. And I was able to set up a bench here. Because I was throwing all my tools and nuts and bolts on the ground. I needed something, so alright, let me get set up. Got a plate here that I can put a breaker bar on. Okay. Is that gonna hit? Is that gonna hit? Not a lot of room in there. Oh, shit. Oh. Holy cow. That thing is on there. That thing is on there good. Got it. Whew. I have a 28-inch breaker bar and the end of my jack pump handle to break that thing free. It's supposed to be on there 308 foot-pounds. Whoo. I wasn't like pulling with all my strength. I was trying to pull controlled to where if something broke, I wouldn't go flying or I wouldn't bash my elbow into the car. That thing was really on there. Doubt that's ever been taken off. Or if it was, somebody put it back on there. I don't know. Felt pretty dang tight to me. It is 308 foot-pounds. Alright, so I had to go to the auto parts store and get a harmonic balancer puller because the thing was on there. It's like as I was pulling it would go poop, 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 poop. It was on there. Now that I have it clear, there's 7 screws holding on the oil pump cover. 4 of the 7 screws were loose. Like I could just put my finger on it and move it. And another one, I put a regular stubby Phillips on and it was loose, but I had to kind of break it free with this. So these are the things that everyone's worried about, that they're going to strip the heads because they're a cone-shaped screw going into a cone-shaped, hole, and that all that it grabs in there. Aluminum, it grabs. So it's not really the threads that are grabbing, it's that cone shape that's grabbing. So you got to be real careful with that. Now I'm going to take it off right now, and there'll be a little bit of oil that comes out. I've got an oil pan underneath to catch it. It's going to run down probably across the steering rod, but I'll get to that right now. I don't know if you can see the cone shape on there. You can see that someone's been in here and stripped these out. I've got new screws. But that cone is what digs inside the cover. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but I'm going to go in here with an O-ring pick. There's the O-ring. Alright, so I've got a 2-inch PVC end cap here, which fits perfectly over this seal. Make sure it's flush all the way around. It's good. So I use this, it's just a 2-inch PVC cap, and the inside lip fits on the inside, and then this hits flush against the outer part of the seal, and just tap it on. So I was just underneath because the key and the keyway is facing about the 5 o'clock position. I want to make sure that I got the keyway and the key stayed in before I pushed it on. Yeah, that's good. Now I got to get my plate back on and get it set up for the breaker bar in a different position now. So my torque wrench isn't as long as the breaker bar, and the breaker bar I had to put an extension on to get it off, but we're going to see. Oh no, my torque wrench head hits the other breaker bar. So I got a smaller breaker bar. This is a cobalt one. But man, I do not have nearly as much leverage on this bad boy. Oh. Whew. Seems like it was on there a lot tighter before. Okay, 308 foot-pounds, 3/4 inch. Look at the head on that thing. All right, well, I've got the hard parts done, which was 30 millimeter big breaker bar and even a bigger torque wrench. So a lot of times I saw some videos, they said that people don't have a torque wrench that goes up over 300, so they just crank it on as tight as they can. It's obviously what someone did with this before, if it ever came off, because I had to take this and a 2-foot extension off my jack to break it free, and that's ridiculous. It was on there ridiculously hard. It was actually my torque wrench is about this long, and I was able to get it without any extension. So I'm just going to go back together in reverse order now. I changed the seal behind the harmonic balancer, which is the front main seal. I changed the O-ring behind the plate that covers the oil pump. And I think that I'll wait till tomorrow probably just to do, it's just a regular O-ring that goes on the distributor shaft. And that can be done after I reassemble all this other stuff. It just, as long as the battery box isn't in there, it looks like that's all I need out to do that. So I've got new belts. I've got a new pulley for the AC compressor, a new pulley, as well as a new bolt and lock, just in case. I didn't know if it was going to be bent, so I got a new pulley. And then I got the new idler pulley that goes over into the plate where I put the O-ring, the oil pump cover plate. I got a new little idler pulley for that. Because the one thing is, these idler pulleys, they're just bearings. And if those bearings go out, it can actually throw your belts. A serpentine system, which is one continuous belt that runs everything. I had a pulley go out on the 100 series Land Cruiser, and it locked up and threw the belt, and I was out in the middle of nowhere. Luckily, I was able to kind of repair it from a local auto parts store. I limped it into town with no belt running, but that worked out. So whenever you're in there, you know, replace your belts. They're cheap. And if you just got the vehicle, it's probably a good idea to replace some of the things like idlers, so then you know how long they've been in there, right? You can't just look at it and say, oh, it looks okay. It's not the way it works. So if you're in there and you got everything apart, you might as well change them, you know, because if you have to go back in there later after you break down somewhere because of that, you're going to be pissed off that you didn't do it while you were there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know that it was probably hard to see. I think that the water pump snout was in the way most of the time, but there was just nowhere else to put the camera. And I'm losing light. Maybe a storm coming in. But like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching another Project 80 series video.